Yo, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to a new video and the start of a video series. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be dropping 3 different episodes. First one is today for a track from scratch series. In the first episode, I'm making some expansive pads, writing melodies, and transitioning energy from the intro, I guess, into the buildup. The second episode, we did a drop idea, so the drums, getting some basses in there, a bass line, and it was still pretty rough by the end of it, but the idea was definitely there. And then for the third episode, I went back in, mixed the drop a little bit, added some vocals, which helped, and worked some of the fills out. And the first episode, I was kind of just planning on making a video on pads for midsections, but it ended up being a really cool idea, and I thought maybe I'll, try to make this into a drop. So next day, I turned the camera back on and tried to make it into a drop. Yeah, so that's kind of how this series happened, and I hope this is going to be helpful for anyone that likes to, watch others produce. I know I do, so yeah, I'm excited about this, and let's get into the first episode. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As you can see here, we've got a lovely guest. Set up a little cat cam. Who knows how long he'll stay. But today we're going to do some pads. I've had questions about like melodic midsections, kind of like big atmospheres. I'm just going to do basically completely from scratch, try to go for a big kind of atmosphere section, and then eventually we'll fill it out with maybe a melody, respace, that kind of thing. And see where we go, but just kind of go from scratch. And there he goes. So the way I make my pads is I use granulator, and I have this pad rack. It's the first post on this Patreon is my rack pack, and this is in there. It's quite simple. Granulator with the LFO is just gonna constantly run through the sample. Here, I'll turn this off now. And then that goes through this kind of pad rack, which is just a bunch of reverb and delays at different parameters. A little bit of EQing, OTTing, and it kind of will turn any sound into something very spacious. What I like to throw in these is that one will be good. Sure, we'll start with this one. It's already in C, perfect. So kind of like a vocal bed kind of situation. And you're going to want to draw in your C3 note. Oh god. So boom, you have, without this rack, it'll kind of just go through the sample, and you could automate this to maybe go at every half beat or half bar. And then once you throw it in here, kind of smooths it all out. So then I'm just going to duplicate that and start a group going, or get a group going here with some compression on everything, because I'm going to do a bunch of these layers. So yeah, just like the classic, compression. Probably could go a little easier on the saturator, and then fresh air. So we have the first one. Then I'm kind of just going to grab a bunch of these kind of pad-like sounds. I know I have this vocal bed one that works really well. So now, of course, we have to move this into the correct note. So if it's DM and we're on C, we'll just move this one then up. So I want this C to be a D. Let's just work this pad / atmosphere in D minor. Now we'll have these two. So to me, this one already has a lot of nice high end, very central. And the first one we had is a little more tame. So I'm going to try to find another one that's kind of tame, and then we'll push them to the sides, and we'll have this one in the middle. I promise it gets a little more interesting than this in a minute, but it's kind of like the foundation. Get another vocal. I just kind of want a hit of C from a vocal. I don't know. Here, let's just get a little hit and turn it into a C.
I don't know why we keep running in circles.
The A is probably a good one. So you could do this from any vocal. And then we'll check out what note this is. B, by the looks of it. Yeah. So pop that up to C. Now we're in C. Alright, so I'm just gonna like Command J that. So now it's gonna like just all we need. So we're just gonna drag this little guy into here. Delete that and then boom. Got a pad out of that one now. And maybe this one will go like at the rate of 1 bar. So what I'm thinking is that one and this one on the sides. Probably could EQ this one. It's quite low. And maybe also an octave. Yeah, that's better. So you don't want to have things too low. And I always get confused with the pitching. So yeah, we have to go up to D, D, and D. All right, we're in D. So then I'm gonna put this one on the bottom. So these two kind of more mono ones. I'll go like kind of bar wide with each of them. So 25 left, 25 right. And then we have our center one. Then you can kind of start getting a feel for the space of it. So that's like the foundation of the pad. And I'm gonna keep duplicating these granulator rack layers. But now I like to add texture. So I'll just type in texture and see what comes up.
Check out the texture.
I'm looking for like a brightness kind of sparkle. That's pretty nice. Let's grab this one. And for these, like that's sweet going through the rack, but I'm kind of thinking none of like the reverb and delay, because I want to kind of sparkle this a little bit. Yeah, get it pretty high. And we can have this rate going really fast. So we get a lot of sparkles. Yeah, we're on the right notes. So let's kind of EQ this. I'm really just looking for that top end sparkle. Oh, and one thing that is not a default on this track that you'd have to change is if you hit this filter button, and it kind of goes to this other panel of parameters, you want to push the spread one way up, and then it'll really start to sparkle. Forgot to do that for these. Maybe a little bit on this one. Now we have a little bit of sparkle. They're kind of quiet. And I'll do a couple of these sparkle layers because it sounds kind of weird with just one. So maybe next we try like a texture. Maybe one of mine. Yeah, this will be good. Kind of like already super wide. That does not need to be plus 12, so about there. And then maybe a little slower here. Maybe not even at like a set rate, just do it at hertz. So it's kind of off time in a cool way. Nice sparkles, let's check that out. Just a little bit. Cool. So we have some nice texture now, but now we're kind of missing some sparkle. Maybe we get like a chime sample. Like that is just perfect. Yeah, so that's gonna really give us a sparkle. Oh, and one thing I like to do on the group is put a soothe on the end, just because we're dealing with a lot of somewhat harsh frequencies. This is nice, but it's a little crazy. Make it a little slower. Really cut just the top, and we just want it to be so quiet, sparkling. Just trying out some things. Yeah, maybe I want it more constant, so we turn up the rate. Just sweeping through this really quickly. See what else we could find for a texture. That's like really nice as a layer, but kind of cheating. That's nice. Ooh, that could be sweet. So I like to just mess with these weird tonal things, obviously, to get like the foundation, the note. But then stuff like this just adds such a cool like world, I guess. Yeah, now it's like kind of watery. This one's really sweet, actually. Maybe we add like a disperser. And at this point, you just kind of start getting creative with it. Trying things. Yeah, it's cool. Kind of makes it a little more tonal. I could push some of these to the sides as well. And then I think we're kind of good on textures now, so delete this. What I like to do to really get that high end going is just get like a saw layer. Some kind of a, yeah, like a detuned saw. Perfect with a lot of noise. And we could bring that up. OTT that. I'm just going for that brightness right now. Yeah, let that brightness come through. Could always turn the volume down later and then just drown it in reverb. See, now you're left with this. Turn that up for you guys. Whoops. You're left with this really nice, super noisy high end. Kind of like the texture, but this is definitely more stagnant. It's just going to kind of complete everything. Do without that. And of course it depends, right? Sometimes you want, like, sometimes your midsection is a little bit more chill and you kind of only want the low end of it. If this was like your pad layer. But sometimes you're doing something really big with a lot of notes and you do want all that extra buzz. But the nice thing is, like, I will kind of make these pad samples with all of the high end, you know, with all these like high end texture layers, because obviously when you throw it in your tracks and you don't want that, you just EQ it out. So it's better to have it, I think. Yeah, I think this is sounding pretty good. From here, what I'll usually do is get that pad layer in audio, just because, you know, I like to just save them. So when I type in Fort pad, I have just a bunch of different variations of pads, some with, you know, LFOs, some just straight. But yeah, let's just go ahead and record this into audio. 16 bars worth. And a quick little cat break. Bro is now chilling under the curtain. It's his favorite spot. But I like to do 16 bars because, as you could see, there's like a bit of a wind up for that pad rack. So then I will grab this and kind of cut the start and the end and just kind of get like this middle bit. So it's start of the sample is like already, it's like already in full gear versus at the beginning there's a bit of a wind up. So okay, we have this. Let's move to the side a little bit. And next, I would add a respace underneath. And this is where I'm actually going to start messing with notes. So all this pretty much was just D. Like all these, the textures aren't playing a note, but all these layers are playing a D or something in the key of D minor. So maybe an A, I think one of these had in it. But now is when I'm actually going to find a vibe. And I think I was saying in the beginning, it's kind of hard to just like come up with a melody without having that foundation. So that's why this is step one for me. And then now I can turn into a nicer pad, and we can actually start to see what happens here with notes. I'm just going to be pretty basic with it. Kind of evil like that. You could do you could either do like a repeat, 4 bars, 4 bars. This probably makes more sense, but I'm trying to maybe make this like an extended thing, 8-bar progression. So let's see. Yeah. Maybe we go C. Yeah, and then it repeats. That's pretty cool. And then, so I know the original question was midsection, but this really applies for intro and midsection, like either before a drop or after a drop. Right, so now it's all about automations. You've exited the drop and you kind of want to stop the energy for a while, but slowly start to rebuild it. So I'll just do a lot of like long automations like that. On the respace, we can do some fun stuff as well, like over the course, bring that kind of high end out, but then also in between for little moments, we could do like something like this maybe. Yeah, and just kind of like every little bit. Could probably do this with an LFO a little cleaner, but adding movement is super key. Duplicate that and then drag this one up a little. And then here I would, whoa, sorry, I think my mic just distorted. Here I would start adding drums, but we can get to that. Next step, I think, yeah, I'd probably start going for some notes here. I like this Faded Keys Ableton preset. Oh, you know what else is like such an easy thing to start adding rhythm in here? Is just getting like a little sine wave pluck. I might have shown this before, but I'll just do it really quick. Wait. Okay, that's the rhythm that I like. Obviously, you can do whatever you want. I like to get a little something like this, a little something like that, and then a little something like this. Adds a bit of rhythm. And I like to pop one of these every now and then. Up an octave, but we should do it like every 2. So this will start adding rhythm in here. Maybe we're going up. I don't like up. Keep it low. There's a foundation layer. Alright, let's start adding some keys. I have no idea what the vibe is here. We're just gonna see what happens. don't want to do a straight rhythm, so like just on the downbeat, I want to be a little more, I guess, complex, but not really. Just like kind of, I like to do off rhythms. Why isn't this note playing? That's not right. Maybe. Kinda hard to hear this thing. Bring it out a little. It's nice. Pull it out a little with clean space rack. Also, like the first post on this Patreon in the rack pack. Add some shimmer. Then I think something really important is to utilize this humanize thing. Kind of like, just I wish it did more, but it like barely pushes the notes over. And then also maybe like velocity randomization. And then of course my favorite is doing MPE stuff. I hate that last note, so we gotta figure that out. It is on the G, so... Dun, dun. Then second part, I would add more notes, just build on this. Accent note here. I'll literally just hit a random note and then just like work from there. Oops. Start like filling in gaps, I guess. That one's got to be way quieter. No, I can't do that one. I usually like to go to that F sharp, but we're not in Phrygian. What happened? Oh, this is already a G, so go a little lower maybe. Alright, cool. Getting somewhere for sure. Still quite simple, but try to make this video not super long. Alright, couple things next. Number one is just effects. So you're coming out of the drop, you're gonna want some like lasers, I guess, or this kind of like sound. I think works super well. Make sure it's doesn't need to be warped. Like, yeah, I mean, imagine there's like a giant drop here and then you're kind of doing one of those things. And then another one is like, you know, just downlifters. I won't spend too much time on this, but this is one that I always use. Put in key. And then keeping it with the theme, make sure we're always automating something. So we start maybe down there. Just automate this open. Maybe here we do like a cymbal transition. Alright, next thing, what I like to add is like, so we've got like the melody now, but it's nice to also have like accent note hits. So actually, I think this one's on splice. I have something in mind here. Flute. Yeah. So what we're looking for here is like a reverbed note, pretty much any note. I got like another one that's always good. Donk D. Yeah. So reverb note is what I'm looking for. That one's obviously got a bit too much high end in intensity. These can kind of repeat every couple of things. Oh, I got this one. Yeah, I love this one. So yeah, just like a vocal hit here, put that in the same note. And you can make these different notes depending on the hits, but keep it simple. Maybe this one could reverse. And then here I'm hearing a dee, dee, dee. And I'm hearing this kind of MPE going. So it's kind of important to just get the bass idea down, you know, super simple notes in the beginning. And then as you're working on other things, more ideas start popping in. And that's how it fills out eventually. And maybe hear another high note, right? And like, how am I coming up with these notes? If you can't tell, I literally am just like kind of clicking and just seeing what it sounds like. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I'll adjust until I do. There's no like math or science to this. Yeah, that's actually a nice one. Ding, ding. All right, cool. We've got a nice midsection. Now the question is, how am I going to transition this into most likely a heavy drop? Because that's the kind of music I make, right? It's all beautiful, emotional, whatever. Okay, we still have to get back to like, you know, something kind of aggressive. Sometimes you're able to just take the group and throw like an endless smile on it and literally just kind of reverb it out till the very end and then have like a fill there. Maybe some risers going up right here. Boom, right, and then there's a bass hit here and you're right into your build. That works sometimes. Sometimes, however, it's too abrupt and you need to transition it while still using some of the melodic elements. So my favorite way is to extend the reese and do this thing where you go root note, up one, and then later, and then root note again, and just kind of do this for 8 bars, and then you're super ready to again do a heavy buildup. Just kind of listen to how this sounds, and maybe we do a group without the reese, and we have that kind of reverbing endless smile going. Make sure, yeah, we're off on this one. Let's get it going on this one. And for this one, you want to kind of extend it into this section. And before we play this out, a couple more important elements that I thought of. So a string, tension note, always good for these mid sections. Strings, long. I'm using Labs. I believe it's free. It was free, at least when I got it. And we'll just hold out a D. Highest one you can. So what I'm going to do is freeze this, bounce this, because I like to do like a pitch kind of thing. I'm giving up all the midsection secrets here, but whatever. Kind of do like a 12 semitone in. Complex, of course. And then that would sustain with this reese because it's kind of like a good energy. And then the other thing is, let's get like simple drums going. Sometimes, or most of the time, I'd probably do this like a little bit more intentionally, but just in the sake of time, I just know this loop is going to work. So I'm just going to drag it in. Couple of effects, and then you might have guessed, bring this in slowly. On the last one, gotta reverb the hell out. Kind of like that. And then you kind of hear where we're going with this, but make sure this stays real big, this whole section. And one thing I like to continue into that next kind of darker section is some of these note hits. And then here is where, actually we only want this to be 8 bars, so just to there, and then that's where your buildup would start. So take these out, and then just to give it a little more context, like in this section, I would start this like some kind of rising effect. So here I've dragged in a 16 bar snare, which as you can see fades in and will keep going for the whole buildup. So I just have that as a sample because I use it a lot. So let's go ahead and listen here and see where we're at. And the other thing is, before we get to this dark section, we need another transition. Probably do these two for sure. And we'll probably do symbol. And yeah, this would work well. And we'll reverse this one. So let's see if this works. So you've come out of the drop here, blah, 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 in midsection. And then it's the buildup. See what I mean? Then even here, there's 8 bars, right? Yeah. So then this would be drop. So even here, you could start feeding in some basses, some things from the drop. So I guess I might have to turn this into a track, but something that comes to mind is, yeah, something like that probably. This dark section, start it pretty quiet. Or start it pretty limited. And the reverb throw I have on this guy is like a bit short, so I'd want to for sure extend that. And for this, put it before the EQ. We definitely don't want low end actually, because we got a respace still going. And I want to, so it's got that tone. I want to extend that tone of it. Yeah, so those kind of stay. That could happen every 4 bars, and then the next time, a little more. You gotta have other things going throughout, of course, vocal or whatever. Let's say we're doing like some kind of 16th note drop. So what I'm gonna do is, I just made samples for September yesterday, so I have all these in my back pocket. But if we're in D, we'll go up to A and do kind of the same thing, just reverb and delay, or reverb and EQ in this midsection to transition the energy. That, not right. And we have no drop. But yeah, I think I'm gonna call it there. I mean, that's the process. We started off just using vocals and kind of textury sounds to make these pads. We got it right here in audio. Use that as the foundation for building off of it with some rhythmical things, melody, some kind of sustained things, big respace. Oh, real quick, one thing I love doing on respaces, just adds another dimension of movement, is doing tape stops before and going into notes. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of my thing. But yeah, just like real quick ones like that. Every now and then. Yeah, like start stopped energy. Pretty cool. Check it out. Sick. Yeah, I think this turned out pretty cool. I might have to turn it into an idea. Yeah, hopefully that was enjoyable and cool, and you learned something. If you have any questions, drop them below. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate your support so much. We'll see you guys next time. Oh, if you have video ideas, drop a comment as well, because someone recommended this, and I think it was cool, because really, like, what I usually do is just breakdowns of my tracks, but I'm open to doing sound design or, this kind of a thing as well. I like to do it, so let me know. See ya.